Welcome everyone to that 203rd, not that, the 203rd weekly live stream.
Woo!
Um, well, mostly weekly. That's close
Mostly.
enough. We're more weekly than most governments, you know, doing stuff, so we're good. We're good. Welcome, 203rd. Alley Claw,
Hi, me. I'm here.
Fluffy's
I,
Eye.
I'm
Hello, I'm here too. And a
and
zombie.
barely alive, living, dead.
I think one of the worms might have just eaten a useful part of the brain.
Just they got a little. You haven't been feeding them. You gotta give them more food.
That's the problem.
The responsibility of being a pet owner. Come on.
I mean, our Neopets like every day. We know what this means. We
I
go
don't
back
feed my
together.
Neopets every day, but I'm on there, gambling.
My Neopets must be so
Responsibility.
starved.
They're starved, but I bet you they're so damn happy to exist.
They're
Dying,
owned
but
by a rich
extremely
person.
excited.
So let's kick this off. First pictures by Life Song. Drew me and my boyfriend recently. Still practicing bat wings, to be honest. And
Very
there's
cute.
a wonderful critique by Pixel Nup. It goes on
Heck
about
yes.
the back, muzzle, the leg. I'd highly suggest reading theirs because basically what we're going to say is a reiteration of what they're saying. In fact, I'm not even sure if it's worth going on about the back, nose, legs. So let's go somewhere else on this one.
Sure.
Um,
I'd say for the Batwing, it's a really great first attempt. If you're here, I'd ask, but one, did you get references? Two, if you didn't, get a bunch of references. There's so many people who drop bat ponies out there, or just Batwings in
Yeah.
general. You can find.
Guess what? Popular.
They're screen little guys. They're super popular. Um, and even if you did use reference, it's just you're gonna take time to learn. Like you said, it was one of your first times doing it, so there's always places to improve. But I see the basic shapes going on there. I think personally, I would be careful with the thickness of the little like I almost want to call them the fingers of the wing, the thick part between the the
Yeah.
webbing. To me, I think they're a little thick and a little too like wobbly.
I was gonna
But
say as well. I'm not sure like how smooth it's supposed to be, but I would definitely myself draw it like much smoother. And I do usually see them smoother. I have sometimes seen knobbly bobbly looking ones like this as well, but it might just be a matter of taste. But I think I have to sort of question what the purpose of them being so like bendy and wobbly would be, as like a natural construct.
it does
Other
feel
than other than to
dragony
look
to me.
spooky. Yeah, it does.
rawr.
It looks spoopy and intimidating, but like other than
Mhm.
that, I feel like I would prefer to have a smooth wing if I was a tooth pony.
I really
So
like how they did the manes though, the head hair. It's really nice and fluffy.
totes agree.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to. Uh, I've lowered the tails. Maze has pointed this out. So I've lowered the tails, basically because how a tail rolls is it follows the spine all the way down until it hits the back of the behind. Then it just sort of follows that line out. So I've just dropped them down. I know what you're going for. Pop the tails up. They're cute, adorable. You want to just like grab one and sleep on one because they look so fluffy. But I've just pulled them down. They're now obeying gravity a bit happier. Um, and then with her on the left side, I think I would actually just because how she's placed right now, you have him with his legs in front of her, but her chest is her chest and mane are both in front of him. I would take her mane, tuck it behind him. For the most part, you can leave a few strands so it looks like, we got the chest here. Whoa, we got chest here, and then you can leave a few strands, overlapping. But for the most part, we want to tuck that behind, and that's gonna even them out a bit, and I would take her back leg and actually put it in front of his front leg, and that way they're gonna look like they're even, as opposed to him like leaning sideways to try and give her a hug.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got for this one.
And I totally agree with it.
Yeah.
Cool.
You got a very interesting mouth style, that's what I was saying.
Yes, frustrated artist. These pictures are all from Reddit users who haven't got critique, or have got critique, but we just wanted to, add a few little extra elements to it. And you'll find the subreddit on the
Nate
same.
likes to show up in our stream and help out with great critique.
Yeah. All right.
He also showed up in such a video, so he stalks me across the internet.
Add fluff. Oh, they know us too well. Definitely needs chest fluff.
But yeah, see, CPC isn't here right now, so I guess I have to do the job of fluffing.
She's
Or
on her
all of us
mousy
can chip in.
vacation.
Yeah, she's sitting on a beach. Not really. She wishes, because it would be warmer there. She's huddled up in 10 layers of clothes in a country slightly cooler than Portugal.
I mean, she's
If it's
still
not
probably
Portugal,
happy.
it's too cold for her.
All right, shall we move on to the next one?
Sounds good.
Yes, I'm gonna have to restart Drupal because it won't recognize my tablet for some reason.
This one is done by our ever lovely Gallon Arts.
Galen!
Sketch to practice my art style and posing. Any critique for anatomy and posing the body are welcome. So, Advast has already talked about the shoulder a little bit, and Gallon has awesomely responded. Please remember, respond to your critics, because it's a conversation. Even if it's just cool. Yeah, thanks.
See, first we want people to post more art for critique on the subreddit. Then we want more people to critique. Now we want people to respond to the critique. It's just never enough for us.
Don't forget that we want people to ask questions if they want critique.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important because it helps everyone. It helps us help you. So ask questions, look for critique other people.
This drawing makes you feel things you've never felt before. Okay.
That's interesting, frustrated artist. Probably because they are a cutie patootie.
It is very cutie patootie. I love your eyes and just
Yeah,
your
that's
very
what
cute
drew my
face
attention
style.
as well.
And a nice, the body shape's longer, but I actually don't mind it. I like the little chest fluff. It's almost like that human, that chart where it's like anthro to, human or feral to anthro.
Yeah.
It's like a nice splicing between stuff, so I kind of get a feel of both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the neck bothers me here.
Yes.
I had a blue line right there. No, I actually just did that by accident.
I think it's because we've taken the head and we've, oh my gosh, had a red line there. We've so on the horse heads, as you might know, the spine attaches to the back, and on the horse's back, the spine also attaches to the back. And I think the problem is we've tried to just even out that curve too much to, keep the head back, but still try and make the neck a little less. I don't think it's going to work. So what my suggestion is, add a bit more curve to the chest and the back of the spine, and it will help bring that neck forward. Something like that.
Or even bring the head closer, because right now your pony is looking down, right? Like if you were a human being and you were looking down at, like, if your chin was pointed at your chest, you're actually closer to your body itself.
You have to, you don't just tilt the head on an axis. You move the neck moves as well, so the whole head will lean forward if you look down. So just practice it. Just try looking down, and you'll notice that you have to move your head forward. You can hold your neck back and stretch your chin down, but it's a very unnatural way of doing it. Specifically, like, it feels uncomfortable, and whenever you do it, you know you're not doing a natural movement, and you can only look down so far. if you're leaning back, you can look down, but like the neck typically will like fill that slot. You know, when you're chubby and you do it, and you get like the gross like H-ins. So yeah,
But yeah,
like that's another thing. The neck is of course like a big moldable part of the body as well, covered in fat, protecting that the precious insides.
the protect. Yes, they are precious insides,
You
aren't
need
they?
to be able to breathe
Precious.
and have a spine. Oh, there we go. My tablet is working now.
I do like the chest fluff. It's subtle and tasteful and good.
Yeah.
It's like that long thin fluff. It's not super cartoony, but you have that texture. It's really nice.
Yeah, you got just to. So we talk about it sometimes with people who sort of overdo it, especially when they are like, I want a fluffy character, so they do this, and like we talk about how sometimes less is more, or like how you said they have like the texture brush that makes them look like this, and that's not very good. So like we talk about how sometimes you can just like apply imply the amount of fluff with just subtle little bits here and there, and that's exactly what you've done. It's very good.
All right, shall we move on to our last picture then?
Oh,
Amazing.
I did want to say one thing
Sure.
before we did. So I'd say, Gallon, if you're working on posing and such, so right now you have the character sitting, correct? Have them sit on something, because right now the hand, the hoof, like over here, isn't flat against anything. You know, they're sitting, but their tail isn't like sitting on a surface. If you want to practice poses and such, a part of posing is, unless you're standing, even if you are standing, you're still touching the ground. Unless it's like an action pose where you're jumping. But if it's like calm poses like sitting, standing, walking, or running, even anything that has contact with something, practice having that contact. Practice figuring out, even if you decide, like, okay, maybe they're sitting on something here, but it ends here. So the tail comes around, but then falls. Just have those little things in mind when working on it. Think about that while you're drawing the pose, and that will make your pose that much better and that much more believable because it's interacting. It's doing what we would do if we sat down, or, you got to keep in mind that kind of interaction, I'd say, if you want to push learning poses and such.
And as May's pointed out, which I also agree with, and it's not a huge jarring thing, but the ear could stand to be moved over a little bit just because it's right on top of the temple where the eyebrow would be. So what I've drawn here is just showing how if you draw the entire eye, even if it's going to be closed, so you're like, okay, this is the eye shape. Here is where it's going to actually be closed. That really helps you to determine the spacing on the head. Say, okay, yeah, maybe the ear is a little bit too far over because the eye would actually be there. Imagine what would happen if the character opened their eye a bit further. If they pulled their eyes open super wide, it would have to push the ear back, or else you'd be getting like pony life overlapping facial parts. So it's super easy to do. I have done it hundreds of times. I was really terrible with having my ears too far over the eyes. So I totally understand. It's not like a big terrible mistake, but it's just something worth keeping in account.
Mm-hmm.
Scrolling over to the right, that is the right.
You started that sentence so confidently.
Princess Luna 2342. Tempest. I tried.
And trying is the best thing you can do.
Exactly. And I see you've been posting a lot to the subreddit lately, which is cool. But I will say, get some feedback before you post again. We're not so much. I see you also posted to another subreddit. We're not so much an art sharing subreddit. We actually have on the sidebar, if you look, other Reddits you can share your art to. We're mostly like a critique-based subreddit, so if you want help with an image, please feel free to post it. I know it's weird and confusing, but it does, some people just want to share their art and not get critiqued, and we're here mostly like, if you want help, we're here to help.
If
So
that
just
is
thought
the
I'd let
case, then I'm very sorry about what I'm doing right now. We have had that before. People are, I didn't ask when I had to be critiqued because they didn't realize that what our subreddit is about, and it's understandable. Sometimes people can get mixed up or not understand. I
Mhm.
think you've got a super lovely drawing style, and I think it's absolutely great that you're drawing. If I had, I mean, I'm sort of doing some redlining or rather blue lining right now, but if I were to give a real suggestion, rather than just like doing exactly what I'm drawing, I'm sort of doing this more as an example. I would suggest. I think your art style is off to a really great start. I think it's a little bit stiff. I would recommend looking up references, just looking at art that you like, and just focusing on trying to make the posing a bit more dynamic. I'll see if I can make this a little bit clearer. It's hard because if too dark the color will be hard to see on the body, and too light will be hard to see on the white background. But um, trying to have like your legs are very static. They're sort of just like cylindrical. You want the legs to get thicker as they get lower to the hoof, and you want them to have like a little bit of bend to them, usually depending on the pose. Of course, it depends. The pose will vary the direction that the leg is bending in. You know, the stuff about how the neck curves and how it curves into the body, which I can see you've definitely got to start on there, and how just like all the different round curvy shapes and beans and cylinders that we use in the drawing. So I would just recommend looking up art that you love, looking at show references and stuff, or at least typically the show references in pose is a little bit more similar to what you're doing, because they usually have pretty good consistent anatomy, except for when they're doing very dynamic things, in which case they usually have to draw them on the spot and break certain pony anatomy rules. So if you're just getting like a reference of a character standing, then you'll probably get something pretty accurate. um, there's plenty of artists that interpret things in different styles, so just like look at how different artists have understood things, look at how different artists have decided to place things and shape things, and try to figure out their sort of thought processes in that, and it can get you a lot of the way where you want to go. So I like the attempt at the sort of alternate main style. Very nice.
Yeah. I like seeing people give Tempest alternate main styles.
Yeah, I did one myself though. It was a little bit more similar to. She's still got like the mohawk style, but um it's like swept a little bit differently, and I sort of tried to subtly give it like I gave it like the Twilight fringe cut along the edge to sort of imply she's like, because she was in like Twilight Guard uniform in this picture I drew her in. So that's pattern. Yeah, that's all I have to say really.
Woo. That wasn't a cheer for the never mind. Brain.
Yeah,
Got you,
shut
Tom.
up.
Don't worry.
I know.
All right. Well, if that's it for art questions and pictures people are looking for critique, we're going to call it a day. This has been a new speed record. Congratulations on getting our speed run in.
We've had critique streams that have been like a minute long.
Yeah, that's fair.
when we had no pictures. So
We're that cool.
yeah, we could speedrun art critique. We'll
Alright.
start college and it'll be like our classes take like 2 seconds. Every student loves it.
Yeah. Well, with that, we're going to call it a day. Thank y'all for coming. We'll see you again next week. Goodbye.
Woo. Bye.